Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Please join us as we open the meeting with saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Ron Miller.
Here.
Ness. Here. Schneider. Here. Tegland. Here. Mayevsky.
Here. That brings us to public forum. Is there anyone who wishes to speak tonight about something that is not on the agenda? Come forward. Hi. Oh, sorry, we put you really close to us this time. Come on up to the... You're right here to us, yeah.
Nancy Stalin, 19356 Meadow Ridge Trail North, Marina, St. Clair, 55047. I was here last month on the T-Gavo speed limit request and was hoping to get an update on the informal speed study in the neighborhood.
Okay, I believe Brandon is going to give us that as part of his report tonight.
Perfect.
Yeah, so thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anyone else? All right, then that brings us to approval of the agenda. I would like to, we're going to move the PRC to the end. Terry called and said he's going to be a little late this evening, so we will move it to the end so that he's able to speak at that time.
You say to the end, do you mean all the way to the end?
All the way to the end.
Okay.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then next is the approval of the consent agenda. You've all had the opportunity to read through it. Any items on that? Is there any discussion or else a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay.
Just on the approved listing of the public works, well, obviously we can add things to that as it goes along.
Absolutely. Yeah, the way the policy was written, actually, I have one that I would probably add. You know, I know of one, but I mean those, you know, the way the policy was written, it said, you know, either committees, staff, or council can add things, but they have to be approved by the council. So this was, you know, shot number one, but we can always add more.
Okay.
Or if you would like to make an amendment to this, you could add one right now.
Got some ideas, not quite yet.
Maybe we can talk about the work session?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Then it has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Public hearings, there are none this evening. That brings us to the commission and committee reports. Park and Rec is later, so Planning Commission, you want to speak to anything there?
Planning Commission, we will have 2 public hearings at the next Planning Commission meeting on ordinances. One of which is with regard to changing the ordinance for conditional use permit, given the opportunity for a review by the Planning Commission, kind of a sketch review, but that's optional at the option of the applicant. The other thing there'll be a conditional use or a public hearing on will be on solar, and that's the accessory use of solar. So those are the residential solar systems, as opposed to the commercial solar gardens. So they did work on that. The other thing they continue to work on is the shoreland zoning ordinance, and we're probably a meeting or 2 away on that one, you know, depending upon what we need to get done. But I think at the next solar meeting, I think I even have that covered in my report, we'll start working on sections of the comp plan. Bolton and Mink will have 3 of the sections ready, or drafts ready for Planning Commission comment.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to staff reports then. The building official report. You've looked at, any questions about that or any comments anyone wants to make? And that moves us on to the police department. Brendan?
Yeah, maybe you should line it up with the camera.
You're going to get correct.
Perfect.
Just now you have to wait.
No, I'm right in line.
I don't think so.
Started out, we had a theft yesterday at Scandia Liquor. There's two individuals that went in. One distracted Adrian, the owner, and the other was able to pop the tail and steal $100 out of it. Concerned citizen was in there at the same time, realized that these individuals didn't look up to par, and when he left, he grabbed the plate. And concerned about Adrian, called back 10 minutes later, gave us a plate, which led us to the individuals. So we were able to ID one and cite him, and then we're working on the second one. So kind of a good deal. What's that?
Are they local?
No, no. Kind of Forest Lake, but then again, they both have like 30 addresses. So then I am working on with animal control on a farm on Scandia Trail with removing some horses. I think 12 have been removed so far. We're working on another 40. So I think there's a total of 62 on the property. Me and Neil have been looking at it for too many animals, too many large livestock without a COP. So kind of a good thing there. The owner's been really good and very cooperative. So the first snowfall, we did have 2 rollovers within like 10 minutes, but no injuries or anything like that. That was good. We did have a structure collapse down by Lions Park with 2 individuals that were trapped inside that had to be extricated. I know Chief Hines will talk on that. And then with the speed study, I can address that. It is very complicated in there to sit and run radar in a spot where I wouldn't tip people off of that would naturally drive slower to actually get the natural speed of something in there. I sat 2 different times. First time I sat for an hour and 15 minutes, 3 cars went by and 3 people. Average speed was 25 miles an hour with the highest of 27. And then the second time I sat for an hour and a half and 10 cars went by, an average speed of 20 miles an hour with the highest of 31. I started looking into the sheriff's office. We do have a box that just ends up getting bolted to a tree, and it doesn't say no markings on it, and it records speed both directions. But the problem with that is the battery's in it, so it only lasts for like a day. So they tried to put it up, it didn't work, and we can do that further on in the spring. If we did want to put the trailer up there, we kind of have the same problem, snow plowing and having the trailer out there, so it's kind of not a good thing either. So I postponed my radar in there with the box that got put up, and then that didn't work, so now I'm back to sitting in there. So
What was the 2 different times of day that you went?
yeah, one was in the morning, one was in the evening. So
Road conditions were?
One was snowy, that was the first time, and then the second time was dry, and that was in the afternoon. So
With more traffic too?
yeah, tried to. So
Is the pavement dry, Bill?
What's that?
Isn't the pavement rather snow-packed?
is the pavement?
Snow-packed?
It's plowed now, so yeah.
Okay. When I typically go through there, I
Yeah.
see a lot of snow and ice on the road itself.
Yeah.
And that itself will slow traffic.
You're right, and it'll deter. And so that's what's having a hard, and I'm sure more of the issue, maybe you can speak, would be maybe on the summer months, and that's when I've seen it in there, from the racing through there, but
Right.
I haven't had as much since the houses went up, so.
Okay.
Anything else on that?
All right, thank you.
Sure, Jay.
Yeah. And, next up, Mike, fire report.
Evening. You have our report. Like Brandon was saying, this last couple of weeks has actually been pretty busy and larger than normal incidents. We've actually had 3 helicopters land in a matter of a week. So, like Brandon said, we did have the roof collapse, which did take a little while to get 2 victims out of the building. But everything went well, got them out, didn't make anything worse, and they should will recover.
What kind of structure was that?
Detached garage, pole barn style building. So they were very large trusses. So actually, one of the people was very lucky with what he did get,
Yeah.
being the size of the structure.
No, I remember talking to you that there were some issues with the house number not being there. I see
Yeah, there's
it's
one there
up
now,
It's
so.
up there now.
And it may have been there even when I was there, but at middle of the night, it
No,
doesn't see much, and
I
it's
think
kind of
I
set
had
back,
heard
so.
a follow-up from, actually from Gribble in the sheriff's department on that. And the person who was least hurt who went out there,
Yeah.
he had ridden there, and he had, you know, when you ride in a car, you just don't pay attention where you are.
Right.
He had no idea where he was.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, which was kind of a major
He
problem.
was a
Well, I guess
passenger.
Yeah.
the point being, is do we have anything on the books or that the building inspector can help us with to ensure that new construction is addressed so we can find places when things like this happen?
You know, a lot of that is up to the county to assign those, I mean, and I'm like, we could probably send something to the county when we get a full building permit, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to start right away. Because that's one of the issues, I think.
How much
you know,
time did you spend looking for this place because it wasn't marked?
Well, myself and one of the deputies went to the wrong place to start with, so.
You know, I think on and beyond that, Steve, in the near future, their police department's dispatch is going to be upgraded to be, you know, CAD-based.
Sure.
So that, based by the cell phone signal, they'll know exactly where it's at.
Hopefully with the new CAD system, it will be going from
So
the
you get a
GPS from the
GPS
phone.
coordinate more than...
Because however they got it, they gave us the address for a house that it wasn't,
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
because yes, the gentleman probably didn't know where he was, but hopefully the CAD system that'll be coming out next year, hopefully, will take care of some of that issue.
Okay.
But it is good if we can at least make whoever pulls the permit aware that they need to start the process to get an address.
I drive past that every day, and the first time I noticed a house number was up the day after. So
Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
So anything else? Any
Any
questions?
questions for Mike?
All right.
I thank you very much. Ryan, for our engineer report?
Mayor, City Council, just some additions to my written report. Switching up the prizes for the snow sculpture events, so you can see what we're going to be giving out this year. So I just encourage you to get some youth involved in that in the community. We've probably been typically 10 to 15 people participating last couple of years, so certainly want to grow that.
And we would appreciate if you would make sure there's plenty of snow for them to do that.
Well, snow's coming. How much do you really want? Second, should just kind of make you aware of some things that are going on in Chisago County related to solar farms. There is a county-wide efforts in exploring some additional requirements related to solar farms. Pretty loose on some of the regulations that they have up there now. That Franconia has certainly expressed a lot of interest in this because of the saturation that they're starting to see and how close some of these are, and even land that's even being leased out already and how much that could grow. So depending on what they come up, might be some things you might want to incorporate in your local ordinance while they do the legwork, but just keep that note. They've got a pretty robust process going on right now through that. Just wanted to bring that up to you guys. And then just recently here, we did receive comments back already in the Washington County CIP comments that we submitted. So I would say they're favorable. They're actually already looking at a maintenance project on Manning Avenue between the northern county border and down to County Road 4 sometime in 2020 or 21. It's about 7.1 miles and 2.4 million. Obviously, we've always commented on the intersection of Manning and Highway 97. I think potentially we could get some momentum going there by coordinating closer with MnDOT and Washington County, you know, moving forward to that date to have maybe something aligned on the top of each other. And then trail developments. Washington County now has a full park board director on staff, so that's certainly going to help in some planning efforts. I know a lot of their planning in first phase of developing is going to start occurring probably 2022. But once we can get some of that framework in place, it'll certainly align with grants or other things that might be going on in the region. So I'll include that in the January update just so you can see firsthand those comments too. So with that, I'll just entertain any questions.
What kinds of things are they going to be doing on Manning?
It'll be a pavement maintenance project, kind of like what we're going to see on Oak Hill this summer and Olinda. Basically a mill and overlay, and some areas might have to do some patching. What other miscellaneous things they got that need to be addressed. So with that, we'll prepare a letter of things we want them to review. So if we know of any drainage issues in ditches or signs probably will be upgraded if they haven't done so already. That's where Public Works will work with them on the local roadway signs. And then just more of a pavement maintenance project.
Okay. You talked about the intersection of Manning and 97. Is there anything particular you had in mind there?
We just, remember in our comments that we submitted, we asked them to explore potential safety improvements there, such as lighting, better traffic control, maybe intersection control change. Thus, that might mean either a signalized or a roundabout right. And it's specifically addressed, yes, someone's going to be there. It's something that in the past have tried to do a cooperative agreement with MnDOT's. Funding wasn't there at that time. It's just one of those things that we keep commenting on to keep, I guess, interest on it instead of allowing interest to flow to the southern portion of the county.
Okay,
So.
good. All right, thank you, Ryan. Questions for Ryan?
Yep.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Okay, that brings us on to our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I don't really have too much, but of course I keep beating the dead horse of the federal tax bill that it has progressed slowly, or fast, I guess, through the system. And it was passed today by the House, and then it was repassed by the House, or they had to do it again or something. The interesting part of bonding for cities came into that, and I mentioned the last meeting that there was a proposal that they get rid of tax-exempt private activity bonds, which would help fund various nonprofit facilities, sometimes senior housing facilities that cities can partner with developers on. And that was not touched, so that's a good thing for that industry. The thing that was that seems to be on the chopping block is advanced refundings, which is where you have debt long time in the future that matures and you can refinance it now. Those are somewhat rare anyway, and the city of Scandia doesn't have a lot of long-term debt. Most of your debt are pretty short for equipment certificates, so that's not a big deal. But then the other things to keep in mind, you'll have some financings possibly coming up with your roads and everything. Is just the general tax-exempt nature of municipal bonds is always sort of under attack. And one of the things with the lowering of the corporate tax rate to whatever the final percentage is, 35 to 21 or 22 or whatever, that makes tax-exempt bonds less desirable for these corporate investors because they get a lower tax rate, so why do they need to have a tax shelter, so to speak, for tax-exempt bonds? So you might see some rises in interest rates when you go to borrow, whether it's next year or the year after. So that's worth keeping an eye on, and nobody knows really how it's going to go down. But I think some of the bullets were dodged this time around at least. So.
Okay, questions for Andy? Right. Thank you, Andy. Brings us to Adam, Public Works.
Mayor, City Council, you have my report before you. Couple of things that are priorities right now, obviously, is the rinks out here. They're being used right now. Right-of-way clearing for next year's road projects. And then being ready for any kind of snowfalls and things like that that'll come at us. So we're all set for that. And Winterfest signs will start going up this next week now, right after Christmas.
You all good on staffing for snow plowing?
We're still short our part-time person, so I'll be filling in those shoes if we get snow.
We've had no interest or no applications in it. However, I just, out of curiosity, I looked at our news item on the website and it's got 35 views. So somebody's looked at it.
A whole 35?
A whole 35.
This city, that's a lot.
I know, Adam, we talked about the rink flooding and getting a volunteer for that. Remember at the last work session, so is there anything going on with that now instead of using your staff and yourself to do that?
Right now, it's, as of tomorrow, the part-time person is doing it throughout Christmas. So the part-time person that's hired to do it is gonna be doing it all through the Christmas time now.
You know
So,
what I'm talking about?
yeah,
So instead of the part-time person having someone, you know, like we used to have.
Would you like to add that as a volunteer task we can see?
yeah,
I'm
do
just
that.
saying, I know we talked about it, and I was looking at the
Yeah.
report, it's full-time during the day and part-time at night. It's not being pursued the way it looks like to me, and I know we talked about it, because we used to have a couple of folks that came up and just did it, you know, retired people or whatever.
Sure.
And also, does somebody from your staff or our staff have to be at Billy Scoga to supervise the sentence to serve people, or does the sheriff's office do that? Do we have to have somebody there?
no,
Okay.
no, that's a, you know, they take care of everything themselves.
Okay.
So,
But somebody's gotta tell them what you want done, though. I mean,
right, I've been out there and I've
just get them.
I've met with
up.
both foremen that are gonna be out there.
Okay.
So tell them what needs to be cleared and so on and so forth.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions for Adam? All right, thanks, Adam. That brings us to Neil's administrator report.
Just a couple quick updates with, depending upon what comes in over the next few days, we may have building permits in excess of 28 million for the year. Compares to 6.5 last year. The other thing is, unless we get more, we will have 21 new house permits this year, which is much better than going back past 3 years. I think I put in there, 16, 14, 7. So that's quite nice. Of noting here, we did get a dividend from the league on our property and liability insurance. The amount they distributed was down from the previous year, but it's still some money coming back. And just to put it in perspective, we pay about $34,000 in premiums, so it's about it's about 10% dividend, which is not bad at all. I know last month we talked about the interconnect poles for the Berkshire Hathaway Energy's Zavril Solar Garden, and just today we received a conservative estimate of what the cost is to move those, assuming that they will be operational, because they have the developer will incur penalties if it's not operational by, I think it's January 5. That their estimate of that cost is $230,000 to move the poles,
Versus.
to relocate them.
One of the discussion points was maybe looking, if they would consider looking at the way that the one on 97 and Manning was done without poles.
Actually, that was not talked about much at all.
Not a lot, but I was wondering if that was even an option.
That would probably, my guess, because you're buying equipment, would be more.
Even more, yeah. If it were,
curious.
if the poles were moved before they hooked it up, which would mean like before January 5th, then it was $138,000. But still a considerable amount of money.
Yes, it is.
We had a couple calls, just, you mentioned this for the public, that XL Energy is upgrading their service lines along Oldfield and Oren to accommodate the solar garden there on Oldfield, going from one phase to three phase. So I think they're doing some clearing along there to accommodate those lines.
Are they putting poles in there too? Have they put them in?
They are using the existing poles, from what I understand, except in one location where they're crossing the street to avoid taking out some trees, which is nice to hear, because typically they're clearing trees. On and beyond that, I anticipate receiving an appeal on the one wetland fill issue that will come to the board. My thought is we'll probably, because the board acts as the Board of Appeals and any administrative decisions, It's likely we'll hold probably a special meeting for that, probably, we can look at it maybe in advance of the January council meeting, started at 6.
Is this for wetland setbacks or filling? What did you
No.
say?
Filling,
Filling.
That was that last code compliance
yeah.
report on this.
And then we're dealing with another one too, but that one probably will take a longer time to resolve. I mean, this one we've been working on since June. On and beyond that, the one thing I think, I'm checking on confirming the pricing on, one of the things in our capital plan was conversion of all the lighting in this building, interior and exterior, to LEDs. And we've locked in the 2017 XL rebates, just to be sure that we're getting our amount. And they're confirming the install costs, so that'll probably be on the January meeting. Because one of the things we're looking to do is pay for that through energy savings, so it makes no sense to delay. So I'm probably going to have to try to get the go-ahead for that on the January meeting. So that's all I have.
Okay, questions for Neil about anything else in his report?
Oh, go ahead. You
Well, I
first.
just read the report on the contract with May Township, and whether you were in, so far we've told them our position, is that where we're at, still the ball's in
That's
their
where we're
court?
at too.
Okay.
I emailed them a couple times and, they, let it get back as the board's discussing it. So, the other thing, and I put it in here just so that you think about it, the Local Board of Appeals and Equalization hearings that we have scheduled for April. Check your vacation schedules, because it's that week before, in between the work session and the regular council meeting. But I need one person who has taken the training to be there, and right now, Christine and Steve have taken the training within the past couple of years. So as long as one of the two of you are here, but if you're both planning on vacationing or
When
taking
is it?
spring break that week,
Yeah, you mean between the,
it would be on April 9th, Monday, April 9th.
yeah, that's an EDA meeting night too. Right
You forget that I got it last year.
Yeah,
I
Chris
passed
did
it
too.
last year.
Did you?
Yeah.
You're not on their list. I
Oh,
will
oh,
investigate,
emailed it to
sir.
you. I'll dig it up and
Yep.
do it, so yeah.
If you emailed it to me, I have it, but I went on their
Okay.
listing, and you're not on there. So I will check on your status.
I know all the vacation I have planned for next year, I will be in town, so I don't
Good.
see that to be a problem.
Yeah, I just, might as well address it quick. I
That's good.
mean, we
Yeah.
just got the notice from the county this past week,
Right.
saying that, make sure these dates are good.
Good idea.
So that's all I have.
On that front, Neil, has the city ever considered, moving to the alternate way of doing that, the open book scenario where you don't need to have the members have that training? I guess I don't know the ins and outs of that, but.
I think if you have an open book, that's just not for people to come, but then the county hears
Yeah,
the appeal.
okay,
And we've done the appeals locally.
gotcha.
Because I know there are open books scheduled, but, we've typically done that here.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, anything else for Neil? Then that brings us to general business and the adoption of the 2018 budget and final property tax levy.
This is exactly as we discussed at the Truth and Taxation hearing, budgeting for a property tax levy of $2,257,872, which is the same as we've had a levy for the past 2 years.
Any questions about that, or else is there a motion?
I move we adopt resolution number 12-19-17-01, adopting the 2018 budget and property tax levy.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Then ordinance number 189, governing the 201 community sewer system.
This ordinance really combines two of the old ordinances, and that's one of the things we had, but the real change here is what is underlined there on the second page. And this establishes the basis for the septic tank effluent pumping surcharge. And this was recommended by the wastewater committee in that it helps to take into account the people who are heavy users there, because that's pretty much a fixed fee, so that if people require pumping more than once in 2 years, that we would charge them.
I think it makes sense to do that, but one question that I have is how do people know that their tank has been pumped? I brought in the document I got.
And I had emailed that to the county, and I have not responded yet.
Said I haven't had my system pumped for 3 years, and I'm on the 201, so I'm confused why people think it's not being done. And I don't get a record when they come out and do it, so how do we know that it's happening, other than to trust that it is?
What did you get, just a letter that says it has
A
to
little
be done?
postcard from the post office, from the county that said their records show it hasn't been pumped.
I got the impression that that's just for people that actually have the septic system, that they're not, that they don't necessarily separate everybody and know that we're on a community, that they have their own drain field and that type
People
of
in the
thing.
system don't understand it either, and they go out and get someone to pump it when they don't need to.
There's no way that Washington County can police that. They don't have that. Think of all the septic systems in Washington County. If they send a card out just off their computer, people don't do it. Who's going to chase that down? What's going to be
But if I get the letter and I
know,
want to
but-
comply, I'm going to go get it pumped. Well, there's no reason for me to get it pumped.
We should get it
because
pumped
you
when
got
it needs pumping, but the county is just, that's a requirement.
And see, I've ignored it because I know mine gets pumped when it's needed.
Yeah,
So,
see,
I just
the
toss it in
program
the
we're on
trash.
is, as a part of the 201 system, we're required to inspect everyone every year. And if there's a certain amount of sludge on the bottom or scum on top, that's a trigger to have it pumped.
Sure.
So you don't, so just ignore it, in other words.
Ignore those, right, but,
We get them.
but it's interesting that we should probably, whether some thing or something that after they're pumped, just to let people know.
Yeah, that's all I'm getting at. Just let people know that it happened, and then when they get the notice, they go, oh, I know I have proof that I've got it done.
Yeah.
And is there some way to notify everybody, when we just did the mailer, that, when you get that card, it doesn't necessarily pertain to them because the 201 system is being maintained by the city, and, just ignore this, the county.
I think that's something when we send out next bills, we can put that in
That
there.
in there, yeah, that'd be good.
I've actually heard from a number of people about this, not happy with the increase, but they have absolutely no issue with the extra pumping. They're like, yeah, that big house there.
Sure.
So,
Okay, any other comment on this one? So then we go to,
We need action on the ordinance before we do the resolution for summary.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 189, governing the 201 system.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Then resolution providing for the summary publication of the ordinance.
I move to resolution 12/19/1702, providing for summary publication of ordinance 189.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Brings us to ordinance 190, setting the 201 system user rates. We've been over that,
The
yes.
change here is that the charge would go up by 10%. The other change in here is the connection fee going up for new connections up to $8,000 per dwelling unit. And then the other thing we added here, and because this is a charge ordinance, is that the septic tank effluent pumping will be at whatever our contracted cost is.
I move we adopt ordinance number 190.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Brings us to the resolution for the summary publication.
I move we adopt resolution 12-19-17-03, providing for the publication of ordinance
All
190.
in favor? Aye. Brings us to ordinance 191 regarding community uptown user rates.
What this does is it really makes a change. There is a 5% increase in total revenues for the system. What it does is it reduces the base charge per quarter from, I think $333 to $83.33. but then we make up for that with the volume charge. So that will equalize, at least it will not perfectly equalize, but it adds some equity to the system. The other change in there is a connection fee per dwelling unit.
Okay? Is there an
I move we
order?
adopt ordinance number 191.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the resolution for publication.
Move we adopt resolution 12191704, providing for the publication for ordinance 191.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that brings us to the contract request for final payment for the 2017 seal coat.
Mayor, City Council, in your packet you have the project closeout documents for the 2017 seal coat project, and basically we're just making payment on the retainage here after they got all their documents together. So at this time we're requesting contracts request for payment number 2 and final for Pearson Brothers Incorporated for the amount of $7,329.10. This is about $8,000 lower than the original bid, so final payment.
And everything was fine with them? They were easy to work with and everything, no issues?
We had one issue,
Okay.
but we resolved that. It was basically, they hauled the stockpile away that we required in the contract to stay in the city property. So we made them haul stuff back. But
Okay,
minor.
so we make a resolution to pay this?
Right.
I move that we pay the contractor $7,329.10, Pearson Brothers, for the final payment.
There was a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Goes on to for the spray patching program.
This is a spray patching program that was broken out in a number of segments, lump sum payment for each of those segments that was awarded. So with that, here's contractor's request for payment number 1 and final for Farner asphalt sealers in the amount of $36,000, which is the bid amount. Just the delay of getting to payment here was we had the truck tip over in the ditch, and prior to making payments, we had to make sure everything was cleaned out. So just request the contractor's payment for an amount of $36,000 to Farner asphalt sealers for the 2017 spray patching project.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the proposal for rehabilitation of the lift station number 1.
Mayor, City Council, I have before you the proposal that I put together along with 3 quotes that I've received from different contractors. The biggest issue we found is that with this system, over the years things have been patched together and not fixed properly, so there's a lot of wires that are spliced together and in moisture 24/7, so it causes things to fail a little early. And also, as far as our records show, there have never been any replacement of the components within the system itself. So the check valves and claws that hold all the pumps and everything together have been basically functioning that way for 30 years and have ended their life cycle basically for efficiency.
So there were 3 bids.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, and you were recommending option number 1.
Is that 'cause they're the
W.
lowest-
Getch.
Is that because they're the lowest price, or do you know these companies, or?
There are 2 reasons I'm recommending Getch. One is they are the lower bidder. The second reason is that they can get out here faster than the other 2 that have bid.
They've been around a while?
Yes, they've been around a long time.
We've used them for a number of the other pump installs.
I noticed the other thing is that the second lowest one said if the pump cords won't come out of the conduit, we'd have to have that done by a contractor because they don't have the equipment for it. And the lowest bid includes doing that, so to me it seemed like a no-brainer. But
Okay, is there a motion?
Can I ask one question first?
Yes.
I think this needs to be done, but you talk about the way the splicings have been improperly done in the past. Who's done that?
I think it's been due to the fact that things needed to be replaced ASAP, and rather than taking the time and the effort to pump down the whole station and do it right, they just splice them together and get that pump up and running as soon as possible.
The contractors that we've hired to do it are doing shoddy work?
Well,
What you're saying?
and I think permission's been given to do it that way.
Okay.
It's also over the past 30 years, so that I don't know how many pump cycles you've replaced or things have been replaced.
I'm just concerned that we need to work maybe on doing things right.
Mm-hmm, correct. I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
And we got the bid from WW Geisch for $502 to replace the pumps.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and that brings us to item number 10.
No?
No, oh, the Park and Rec, but he's not here.
Terry's not here.
So shall we wait till that next time?
We
or-
probably have the two action items that we probably should not wait for.
All right,
And those would be for Meister's Bar and Grill authorization for a temporary liquor license at Winterfest. That was on your agenda as 7A1.
yeah.
We haven't had any issues with them in the past, so
No,
They did it before, right?
right.
I would move to approve the application for a temporary liquor license for Meister's Bar and Grill at Foodfest.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And then the fireworks permit application.
Yeah, the second item is the request from Corey Roberts to waive the $100 fee for a fireworks permit application.
What was that 100 for? Where did it go? Was it just a-
It is generally the only fee for the fire department. You're taking money out of Mike's pocket.
You guys are there, is that why or something? or-
No, we have to process permit, we have to come down and inspect.
Oh, it's a deal,
what it
you guys
is.
they gotta go through you for that?
Yeah, it's a state thing, they required that I have to sign off on it.
And we've done this in the past.
We've done it in the
Yeah,
past, and
since
it's
he's
really a
donating
community
to-
event.
Waive the fee
Okay.
before, oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, I see that. All right, is there a motion?
I move that we waive the fee for the fireworks permit this year for the
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and that then, since we don't have Terry here, we will put off the rest of his report for next time, which will be an update on Winterfest, I believe.
Right.
Is there then a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
You might have to ask for it and hesitate.
It's not right.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Merry Christmas, everybody.